Thank you for joining us this evening for our last installment in our Summer 2022 Medical School Scholarship Series. If you missed the first webinar in July, you're welcome to watch it on demand on PA Med's Medical Student section page, and it's also accessible from the Foundation of the Pennsylvania Medical Society's scholarship page. Tonight, we're thrilled to have Dr. Sarah Minnie join us as our webinar presenter. Dr. Minnie is currently a resident physician at University of Rochester's Department of Family Medicine in Rochester, New York. Prior to her residency, Dr. Minnie earned her doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. There, she earned numerous awards, including the James A. Ferrante, MD, Prize for the Most Promise for a Career in Family Medicine, and the Jeffrey Allen Gray, MD, Memorial Prize for Compassion and Humanism. Dr. Minnie is also a past recipient of the Allegheny County Medical Society and AIMS scholarships offered by the Foundation of the Pennsylvania Medical Society, as well as a student loan provided by the Foundation of the Pennsylvania Medical Society. So she is more than qualified to bring this presentation to you today. With that, Dr. Minnie, I will hand it off to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction. As was stated, I'm a very grateful recipient of grants and loans from the PA Med, so happy to give back in this way. Thank you all for joining. We can go to the next slide. So in general, I know part of the reason why the scholarship webinar was introduced is to help people interested in how to better match to scholarships that they apply to. So I think part of that is making sure that you're finding scholarships that are very well suited to your background and experience in the first place. So in general, for tonight, we're going to focus on how to find these scholarships, what to expect during this process, and then again, talk specifically about how to make sure you're standing out on these applications. So to start, it's helpful for me to know just from the attendees what stage of training or education you're in. I think from my understanding is you guys are all currently in medical school. So if you could just put in the chat what year you are, where you are in your training. So for example, if you're in a research heavy program and won't be graduating in 4 years, it'd be helpful for me to know that.
If you don't have the chat function available, you can put it in the Q&A that is being monitored as well. And you can definitely put questions throughout this webinar into the Q&A, and we'll make sure that all your questions get answered. We don't currently have any responses right now, Dr. Minnie.
Okay, that's okay. We can go to the next slide. So the most traditional way of finding scholarships, especially in medical school, is by reaching out or going through your school's own financial aid office, which is a good idea. You should do this. So often medical schools through their financial aid office have school-specific or location-specific scholarships that you can apply to. And in general, people who are hoping to donate money to support medical students, the financial aid office at the medical school is the first place they will contact. So for example, there were even scholarships I got in medical school they didn't have to apply to. They just knew I was someone who was interested in receiving financial aid, and so submitted my name when people would randomly offer money to the school for students. So make sure your financial aid office knows that you're interested in financial support. Most people use Google for scholarship searches, which is good. You should use Google. But the traditional way to look for scholarships is very general searches, so like scholarships for medical students or scholarships in Pennsylvania. And not that you shouldn't do that, but I think what my big overall, and this is all from my personal experience, my big overall lesson is that you're going to be much more successful getting scholarships when you apply to very specific or local or interest specific scholarships that have fewer people applying to them. Medical school is very busy and you have limited time, and the process to apply for financial aid and scholarships can be very time consuming. So you want to make sure you get the most bang for your buck, so to speak. So in terms of that, I want you to think creatively. So go back to your old connections. So this is like even go back to like middle school, high school, reach out to your high school guidance counselors. There's always scholarships that are designed for alumni or residents of towns and cities that want to give to students who are pursuing higher education. I actually found some scholarships by talking to my old high school job. I worked in an ice cream place. You can also talk to churches, community organizations, wherever you grew up, either in high school or college. Community organizations like the Mensa Foundation, the Red Cross, Lions Club, Rotary Club, VFW, they always are looking for students who came from their town or wherever they're located that they want to support. And most people don't know about these scholarships, so it's much easier to get them. Make sure everyone you know knows that you're looking for scholarships. Most people assume people in medical school need financial aid, but not everyone thinks about that. So for example, a family friend of mine who knew I was in medical school just sent me an application for a scholarship one of his volunteer organizations was running, because they were starting a scholarship process and he knew I was in medical school. So just make sure everyone in your connections knows that you're applying for scholarships. Any place you used to volunteer at. So if you did any volunteer work, any summer jobs, like I talked about, make sure you know that they know that you're looking for scholarships. Because even if they don't have a scholarship application themselves, they might not know related organizations that do, and they'll remember your name. The way to use Google is to more specifically search for scholarships. So things like scholarships for people of a Catholic background, or whatever individual talents or attributes or anything you have, this is the best way to use Google. Because again, if you're applying to scholarships that are already hyper specific to some trait or experience or attribute that you have, it's going to, A, you're going to stand out because you'd be considered a perfect fit, and B, there are just fewer people are applying, so you're going to have much more success with that. Is there any questions on any of that?
And again, if you guys do have questions, you can put them into the Q&A. So that'll be monitored and we'll make sure all of your questions get answered. So you don't have to wait. You could just chat it away and we'll get it answered. But right now there are none.
Okay. I should mention there are a lot of scholarship search engines that you can use that are designed more for college level scholarships, but there are still graduate level scholarships on there. You just have to spend a little more time searching. So I can send a list to send to you guys, but there's a couple of big ones: Scholarship Owl, College's Power, Super College Scholarship, Scholarship Detective, and School Soup. These are all very big scholarship search engines, but again, you can hyper search within them for graduate level or postgraduate level scholarships. And there are fewer, like I said, than the college level, but they're still on there. So during the scholarship process, I was very surprised to learn that some of the scholarship applications I applied to, they wanted me to send in my high school transcripts. They wanted a letter of recommendation from some of my high school connections, and this was when I was already in medical school. So you really want to make sure your CV and resume are very up to date. You know, you want to update it at least every few months, that you have recent letters of recommendation or people that you know are willing to write you a letter of recommendation pretty quickly. And try to stay in touch with people from wherever you are in your training so that you keep those connections. A lot of scholarships require an up-to-date photo. So if you haven't already gotten a photo taken, a professional photo taken for interviews or something, even if you just have a friend do it, just make sure it's a professional looking photo because that's often required. Depending on the type of scholarship you're applying to, some will require in-person interviews, some will require follow-up essays or additional applications, so don't be surprised if that's the case, especially the more competitive ones. And then you always want to make sure that you're keeping up with the follow-up expectations for the scholarship. So some scholarships will require that you give them yearly updates, or that you, depending on if they're giving you money directly to your school or directly to you, they would expect, you know, receipts or some type of follow-up indicating how you use the money. And this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing because the organizations want to know how their money is being used. But you can actually use this to your advantage in the future too, in terms of if there's new scholarships or recurring scholarships this organization has, depending on the updates you send them, you might be eligible for something else. I actually reached out to a foundation where I grew up in Massachusetts that had given me college scholarships to send them an update when I was in medical school. And they said, oh, we didn't know you're in medical school. We have medical school scholarships for past alumni. So it is more work on your part, obviously, to keep in touch with these organizations, but it's very important in terms of responsibility. They did give you, if you did receive a scholarship, it's part of your responsibility as a awardee. But it also can benefit you in the future in terms of future scholarship opportunities. So how to make yourself stand out, like I said, the easiest way to do this is to make sure you're applying very specifically to your scholarship. So like I said, I know you have limited time, you have limited resources in terms of being able to spend time on essays and applications and all that. So if you're starting off with only applying to scholarships that very much fit your background and your experience, that's going to make you stand out. You want to make sure your essay and application is very specific to the scholarship you're applying to. So it's okay to have a general essay or general CV, but you want to edit it specifically for whatever scholarship you're applying for. You'd be surprised at how many people kind of just mass apply to scholarships and applications like that. And especially some of these more local scholarships are really looking to give their money to someone who they think is a really good fit. A lot of these community organizations, there's a personal reason why the scholarship is being offered. And so anything that hints that you're just kind of mass applying and didn't really think about the scholarship is going to be a big turnoff, as well as even very simple proofreading or typos. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but depending on how many applications they're getting, it's easy to kind of look and say, it looks like this person didn't pay close attention to this, and that would be a reason to, withdraw your application. And then lastly, make sure you're not submitting the wrong essay or application. So just be careful that if you're applying for a specific scholarship that you're not using the wrong essay, you're not using the wrong CV that was designed for something else, because that's a very easy way to get your name taken off the table, unfortunately. So those are my big tips, like I said, from my personal experience. I'd love to hear if you guys have any questions or comments or anything in particular you've faced when trying to apply to scholarships, so I can see how I can better help you.
Thank you. So we'll keep the Q&A open throughout the rest of this webinar. I just wanted to share with all of you that if you did not know, the Foundation of the Pennsylvania Medical Society has scholarships available to medical students. We have over 13 scholarships available that you can apply to today. Most of our scholarships have been accepting applications since July 1st, and they all close on September 30th. So you still have about 5 weeks, I think. So definitely go check them out. We have nearly $90,000 in available scholarship funds. You can view them all at foundationpamedsoc.org/scholarships, but I'll feature a few now. One is the Endowment for South Asian Students of Indian Descent. This is for Pennsylvania and New Jersey residents of South Asian Indian heritage. It's a $5,000 scholarship. There are a couple other criteria, like you have to be a second, third, or fourth year medical student. But if this sounds like something that you'd be interested in applying for, I would definitely encourage you to go on and do it. We also have scholarships available for Pennsylvania residents in a Pennsylvania medical school, representing a underrepresented minority medical student. That's a $5,500 award. There's some less specific ones, like we have a couple school-based scholarships. They range between $1,500 and $10,000 per award. They're available for Penn State College of Medicine students and Lewis Katz School of Medicine students at Temple. And then there's also many scholarships that it's not school specific, county specific, anything like that. So I would definitely encourage you all to go see if any or many fit for you. And if they don't, definitely share with your peers. Sometimes there's a requirement to be a PA Med member, but medical students and residents and fellows in Pennsylvania can join for free. So to me, it's not it's not really too big of a hurdle to jump. You have to create an account and let us know what school you're at, but that's one hurdle you can get over relatively quickly. We also have Deb Monko on this call. So if you have any specific questions about foundation scholarships or loans for that matter, Deb can answer them or she can follow up with you as well. She works for the foundation and runs the scholarship program. We also are currently running a reel competition on Instagram. I'll send details to everybody on this call following up, but if you're interested in winning some book money or, some food or snacks or whatever, where the prize is a $50 Amazon gift card to create a reel promoting the foundation scholarships. And like I said, I just wanted to encourage everyone to go on and look. If you're not sure where to get started, the foundation's a really great place to kind of get your ground and bearings on scholarship applications, and then you can kind of really take off from there. So with that, we'll wait another minute in case there's any additional questions. But if not, thank you so much, Dr. Minnie, for joining us. Oh, Deb,
Thanks
sorry.
for having me.
Sam and Dr. Minnie, I just
Yes.
wanted to add to a little bit of the websites that you mentioned as tools. I have found that many students have found some graduate school scholarships on the www.scholarships.com website, as well as the www.petersons.com. And like Sam said, I do encourage you also to go to the foundation's webpage. Dr. Minnie was very successful at several of our scholarships. And so I would encourage you to check them out, read through the list. There are quite a few, but you could apply to more than one if you meet the eligibility of each.
Thank you, Deb. Those are great resources. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions following this, you're welcome to reach out through PA Med or the foundation, and we're happy to get any questions on scholarships answered for you. Seeing no additional questions, we'll wrap this up, I guess. Thank you so much, everyone.